Welcome back, Clearwater Jazz Holidays, Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. I'm Steve Weinberger, CEO of the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation, and I'm here with my friend, John O'Leary. John, what's up?
Hey, what's happening?
Nice to see you, John. Thank you so much for being back with us. You're going to be doing a topic today as part of the virtual sessions called How to Play Solo Piano. We're excited to have you with us again. For those participating, everybody is muted for the courtesy of the session. If there are questions, you can use the chat feature. And if you have a specific session topic, we'd love to do it. Just email us at info@clearwaterjazz.com. And John is no stranger to Clearwater Jazz Holiday or Clearwater Jazz Holiday Education and Outreach. In fact, if you go to the studio, which is at clearwaterjazz.com, it's this archive of past virtual sessions. You're going to see a bunch of stuff from John. He's done instructional sessions. He's participated in our What I Love About series, where educators and local professionals talk about jazz legends or folks or musicians that have influenced them or that have inspired them. And there's a bunch of those up there. He's even participated in our Conversation With series, where we have other musicians or industry folks on board to talk about all things music and jazz. And some of those topics, when you go to the studio, you'll see piano technique in jazz, how to develop a language for improvisation on piano, how to use block chords, how to learn tunes, and of course today, how to play solo piano. But you'll also see What I Love About series that John has done on Oscar Peterson, Bill Evans, and a bunch of other folks, including Earl Father Hines and Jelly Roll Morton was another one. He had a recent conversation with the great Sean Martin, which was super cool, and we were so excited to have John and Sean together on that session. And we thank Blue Water Wealth Management and Blue Water Wealth Management with Steward Partners and Duke Energy for sponsoring the studio. And we also thank our friends at Marine Max Clearwater for sponsoring the Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions podcast. So if you'd rather listen than watch, you can go to the podcast and you can see all kind or listen to all kinds of great sessions there. John is a Mexican-American jazz pianist. He's also a neuroscientist. Yes, you heard me right. A jazz pianist and a neuroscientist. He's the pianist for the highly acclaimed trio La Lucha in the Tampa Bay area. He's had a winding path, born in the Yucatan Peninsula, where he started piano lessons at a very early age, turned to classical piano as he grew up. When he was in the United States, he picked up the tuba in the concert band, and then he continued to develop his musicianship through high school, later gravitating back to the piano, scoring accolades on both those instruments, though. He attended the University of South Florida, where he studied tuba, jazz, piano, and biochemistry. He's toured all over the place and has played with some really incredible musicians. He also has some really cool accolades in neuroscience, which I'm always excited and eager to talk to him about. So if you ever have a chance to talk neuroscience with John O'Leary, I highly recommend it. In any event, John is very proud of his work with La Lucha, and I would encourage everybody to check out their albums wherever you stream your music. It is fantastic, and they have also performed regularly at Clearwater Jazz Holiday Music Festival and our related events. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John. John, welcome back to the Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. Thank you for being with us. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and an honor, really, to be here and to share this wonderful tradition of jazz with you guys. Okay, so first I'm going to share my screen really quick, and so you can see my hands. All right. Excellent. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so as Steve mentioned, the title of this class is How to Play Solo Piano. Solo piano is, in a sense, a very challenging thing and also a very natural thing for pianists. It's what we started out doing, you know? We start playing the piano, we start playing by ourselves, and later on do we start playing with other people. And one thing that was something that I really wanted to work on was to make that transition from playing with other people back to playing by myself as a pianist. And so a solo piano projects are a great way of doing that. And but how do you do that? How do you put your solo piano together? So at first, when we're playing jazz and we're learning in a combo, we usually have other musicians, namely a bass player that plays the bass notes for us. So if we're playing a song like The Days of Wine and Roses, and we go, we're using rootless voicings, voice without the root. Right? And that sounds great in the context of a band setting because we have a band playing with us. And they're filling out the space, especially the bass. And so when we're playing, it's going to be pretty tough to play the melody and the chords and the bass at the same time. So one thing we can do is to our voicings, just start adding roots. And so when I first started playing solo piano, that was one of the first things I started getting used to, simply adding the roots to the chords. Right off the bat, that already sounds better than without the roots. You know, in the context of playing by ourselves. But then the middle kind of sounds empty because the chords, the nice chords that we were playing before, now we're not just playing that and then adding a bass down here and then playing the melody. You know, that's going to be tough. So we have to find a way to fill the middle with these fingers and these fingers. And so we're going to fill in the middle here, play bass and melody here, like this. Okay, so what do we fill the middle with? With the chord tones of the chords and passing chords that we want to add. So instead of just playing chord melody, your both hands don't have a specialized, each hand doesn't have a specialized thing where it's only doing melody for the right hand and only chords for the left hand. You're doing both, right? This hand is going to play melody and chords, and this hand's going to play bass and chords. And that's a good way to start. You split up those chords in half. So then a good exercise is to just put the bass in the melody and then fill in afterwards, just so you can feel that sensation of bass melody and then fill. And so we have a nice masterclass, and others have done masterclasses on chords and what notes to put on there. So please check those out if you're wondering what notes to play for the chords. Okay, so then now we added bass notes, and then we changed the role of each hand to fit to fit everything on the piano: chords, bass, melody. Now, the next thing we can start doing is practicing arranging. So the melody doesn't always have to be in the top. What if the melody is in the bottom? So like this. So that's a really neat kind of tool to utilize to change where you put the melody so that you are practicing everything symmetrical. The piano we are very lucky to be able to use both hands on the piano, and we can use symmetry to our advantage. It doesn't always have to be chords and bass in one place. You can always find a way to do it the opposite way to create more dexterity in your performance and your ability to play the piano. Okay, so how about in the middle? I got to admit that's a lot harder to put the melody in the middle, but it's a really good exercise. It helps you think about voicings completely different. So, I was definitely thinking like, wow, how am I going to do this? Like the days. Okay, I can put the F here. And then I have to find a way to bring this out. So play this quieter and this quieter. And so that's a fun exercise to do. And then, okay, and then we already did the melody on top. So that's an easy thing to add. So then we can now add all these things together, right? Top, bottom, middle, and filling in the middle when the melody's on top. And then if the melody's in the middle, you're going to fill out the top, and then combine those elements, like say. So now you're starting to get really interesting changes in the arrangement and where the melody is, and finding a way to make it sound normal, like it's supposed to be that way, and give that continuity. And you're creating different textures and sounds and feelings. So just by changing where the melody is, that gives it a lot of diversity. All right, so then the next thing that I like is to think about a technique called drop two. It just gives you a lot more versatility with everything else that we're already doing. So drop two is where you play a chord. Let's say, right, I have a chord, and I'm going to take the second note from the top, and I'm going to put it an octave lower. And so there you start getting this dynamic where the left hand and the right hand are in thirds. Often, not always, but often in thirds. allows you to do these nice little lines on top of creating a different texture. So then it's a good exercise to practice every chord being in drop two, like I did previously, and I even messed up the chords and whatever. But it's important to work on that and develop that ability to think in drop two, so that you can. It gives you like another dimension to the playing, to that kind of thing. Add those tenths in there, and so then if you combine everything, melodies, adding the bass, filling in the middle, putting the melody in the different places, and then putting drop two, now you have like this nice combination of things. And so that gives you like all this like super cool dynamic. You're creating these continuous lines together and weaving in and out of the chord changes using the drop two, and then the changing textures with the drop and with where the melody is in your left hand or your right hand, and it becomes less. You see, like that becomes really stale super quick. Like we already know, like everyone plays like that, and that's the easiest way to play. And so to develop these different pianistical and different dimensions to the solo piano thing, I think that's really important. And it's something that I started out just doing this. I mean, that was a battle in itself, just being able to play the chords and the melody and not get lost. I mean, that was like my first 10 years, and then little by little starting to add these different things, the drop two, using the middle, the edges, your pinchers to add the chords and textures. And so those little things make a big difference. Another thing you can think about right off the bat is to just add runs. Add a little run. Like if you ever listen to old school pianists, they love to add runs to their playing. And especially like stride pianist or um, Art Tatum, especially, and that era of pianists, you'll check out how they'll do. That was exaggerated, for to show, but that's I mean, yeah, Art Tatum is the master of just putting the right amount of notes in the run, in the right type of run, where he puts it, to make it sound just absolutely beautiful. So check out lots of Art Tatum. He's the master of this solo piano thing. Just incredible with technique, with left hand melodies, with drop twos and everything. So if you love solo piano, then definitely check out Art Tatum. He is the absolute master. Oh, and you know who else is really great at solo piano is Dick Hyman. So definitely check out Dick Hyman, and he will show you all this others, all of that and even more. So another technique that you could use is block chords, and block chords are really nice, and not only in a normal like band context, but also in solo piano. And so block chords, it's having a chord like this that you could drop to, and I have a whole. I believe there's a master class that I did on drop on drop chords, and you can check that out. But you basically take a 6 chord, and then you change, and then you take the bebop scale, and you harmonize each note of the bebop scale with alternating major 6 and diminished chords. And so then you can take it'll just sound nice in many contexts. There's many different like varieties to do that, and so you can add block chords to this. And so on. And so then combine it with everything else, with the runs, with the filling in the middle, drop two, and then those things can be drop two as well. The block chords. And so then and so you can combine all of that together. For example. Cool. So we have adding bass notes, we have putting melodies in the top, in the bottom, in the middle, we have drop twos, we have filling in the middle, we have also being able to play drop two chords, and block chords in drop two. And another thing is to think about melodies and counter melodies. I recorded an album in 2020, December of 2020, a solo piano album where I wrote a lot of the music and arranged it. And I was thinking of these things recently. And especially when it comes to composing, how can you make compositions interesting? And I saw a talk by Brad Maldau and on somebody's podcast. Let me tell you what this guy's name was. It was Kirill Gerstein, KirllGerstein. He's got a wonderful interview with Brad Maldau, an incredible master of the piano and jazz. And in that, Brad talks about playing counter melodies, not just a melody with the chords like I've been doing it, but to create a counter melody that is equally important to the original melody, and you would just improvise it and work that way. so that gives you an even third, fourth, fifth dimension to playing solo piano. It starts more like Bach than it does traditional jazz. And so I thought that was like a brilliant moment of like, wow, just sit down and practice that way rather than being stuck to the specific chords. And I even kind of stuck to the harmony, but what if I created my own harmony, my own bass line as a counter melody, and then add a third melody to that, for example. I can use that and try. And so there was moments where I was like reverting back to what I'm used to doing on this song. And so in a way, it really pushes you to go outside of your normal boundaries and making decisions and taking some risk. And I mean, there are parts that I was like, yeah, that's not really working. But that's why it's a good practice to think about harmony, and you could think about it in a much more dissociated way from the standard. You have the melody and you can add whatever you want underneath. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And then you can combine that melody, counter melody approach with all the other stuff, having the melody in the bottom, the melody at the top, in the middle, drop twos, all of that stuff. And so when I was writing here, I wrote a piece called Introduction to the Sundering. And that introduction had a very nice melody, and then I had a bass motive that just kept moving, boom, boom, boom. It was just it was still there. It was there. It wasn't moving. I mean, it was in the same note. And I wanted to create a counter melody with my right hand, and then try to find a way to write another counter melody to that melody. So I'll play that for you really quick so you can hear that composition. It's a little out, so I apologize ahead of time. So the melody is this. And so I thought, okay, that's a cool, pretty melody. Let's add a counter melody to that within my right hand. So so combining those two things together. So then, and then you put the pedal underneath. That was the word I was searching for before. I couldn't find pedal. I put the pedal together and it sounds like this. So there you can hear how I took the melody, I took a counter melody, and then I created another melody in my left hand based on the counter melody. So that was all pre-written. It wasn't improvised. And so, but that also gives you another way of working. And once you get used to working that like that, you can do the same thing with like the song we've been working on for this masterclass for the Days of Wine and Roses. So if we do okay, so then here's another thing to think about. We've talked very much about technical details, but how about bringing in the emotional part of this? What if we think about the emotions that we want to convey in the song? Let's say we want to make it a happy song. We can use tempo, we can use other chords in the way that it's to make it sound happy, for example. So then we can also take it and let's make it somber and dark and sad. And so that was a completely different take on that song, and it gives it a completely different vibe and feeling. And so I thought that was actually really fun to play and discover. And so I'm getting ideas just talking about it and thinking like, wow, I really need to practice more doing that. Think about counter melodies, think about emotion, and then using these technical elements to change up the stuff so that it's not. Stay away from that as much as possible, especially when you're by yourself. You're going to do an intro, you could just easily do. Or use these elements. That was a lot more interesting than the first one. And so it's, this is a reminder for myself as well to be like, hey, you're an artist. Like, come on, be creative. Don't stop being creative just because you're, worried about this gig, or just gotta open up to the mind of possibilities and having a clear plan. You can write down these things and say, okay, and we're going to work on my fill in the middle, practice putting the melody into different places, think about the emotions I want to convey, melodies, counter melodies, adding runs, and then do that with different songs, different keys. The keys thing is important, so that because I sound good playing this song in F and then switching to A flat. If you ask me to do the same thing in B and switching to D, I will not be able to do it as well. And so we got to work on these things and work on all the 12 languages of of music, which is each key, especially on the piano, each keys are laid out so that if it feels different, it's a different way you move your hands, different places they go, and getting used to those things and being comfortable to be able to do these alterations on the fly so that you can improvise these things. And so this is my masterclass on how to play solo piano. I hope these things are helpful and that you're able to apply some of these things in your own playing. As per usual, you can hit me up on email, on social media, wherever I am at. Send me a note. You can send it through the Clearwater Jazz Holiday and let them know that you want to ask me a question. And I'm always available to help out if, however possible. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome stuff, John O'Leary. Man, thank you again for being with us as part of the virtual sessions. And I definitely encourage everyone who's been following along, students, to check out some of John's other stuff in the studio or listen to it on the podcast, and stay connected with us at clearwaterjazz.com about all of the upcoming events. John regularly appears in some form of or another, and is always amazing to listen to. And stay tuned also for a special festival announcement for the Clearwater Jazz Holiday 42nd Music Festival coming soon for our festival in October 2021. And on behalf of all of our partners and supporters at Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation, thanks for being part of these virtual sessions. Thank you, John, for participating and being a really special addition to these. And I just encourage everybody to keep playing, practicing, sharing, being creative out there. And John, we hope to see you back with us in another one of these sessions really soon.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate you having me. And it's an honor, as always, to be here and to do this. And looking forward to doing it again.
Awesome. All right. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.